now we can go back to what happened in the NFL. And not necessarily just preseason games, but yeah, your Bears took on the Texans. Is there any buzz up there about what did happen last Thursday? I mean, you don't have to watch the game, but I know there'll be casuals out there telling you about that 4th-string wide receiver that probably could be the fourth guy out there if they did the run and shoot. But
no, I think there was more of a buzz for the Hall of Famers. Bears had 3, even though Peppers didn't go in as a Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Hester, Steve McMichael. I watched Devin Hester's speech. Yeah, I thought that was good stuff. He thanked a lot of people. I really liked his story.
He shouted out.
Yeah, when he shouted out his stepdad though. That was a good story.
You know, and the good thing about this, man, being here in the state of Florida, and even when I wasn't in the state of Florida, I was able to watch a lot of these kids coming up, and you can see some of these more talented kids, and you realize that when you see them for the first time, bro, I mean, you may be wrong most times, but sometimes you're just damn right. You can see these kids, you know they're going to the NFL. Even at 15 and 16-year-old kids, you could see it. And Devin Hester was one of those guys when he won the Nike Camp MVP 2 years in a row in Miami, the bottom. He went down there and won it 2 years in a row. If you can do that as a 15 and 16-year-old, man, you special. In Miami, which is so talent-rich with football. Same thing here when I was in Jacksonville, first came down here and I saw Leon Washington for the first time. The first freaking play, never heard of him before. The first play he had, I've seen him on. Bro, that's the best player in the city of Jacksonville, probably the state of Florida. First play, he touched the ball. It was like probably a 20-yard run on like a little flare pass because he was playing flank at the time. And as it turned out, the guy missed the football the following year. You know what I mean? Being the full-time running back, punt returner, kickoff returner, punter, and every damn thing else, bus driver, all that. But yeah, to see Devin Hester come through like he has and going to the U at that, bro, and then what he did in the NFL. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to do that again, especially with these ridiculous kickoff rules.
Well, it seems like there's going to be more returns. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, it just looks awkward the way they go about, going up, lining up to do it. I mean, I watched it, like, I don't know what to think about it, but hopefully it adds a little bit more fun to the game. And Steve McMichael, who you mentioned, I remember watching him at bedside because he has ALS right now.
Yeah,
and man, I mean, it's a bad sight because we watch this guy, but it's bad for anyone who's in the spot. Man, but I'm glad he got his, and it wasn't one of these sympathetic votes. The guy deserved it.
Now, did you see when he was inducted, or did you see highlights of it?
No, I have not seen the highlights. I just saw the pictures of him in the bed with his bust.
Jared Payton, he inducted him, and then they took a live feed to his house, and Mike Singletary was there, Richard Dent,
all the boys with 85,
Kimball Covert, Hall of Fame teammates. And you know how he looks. I was like, oh man, like I'm not sure. I'm not sure I like that. They're telling him, hey, you just been inducted, blah blah, but he can't speak. You can't even see that he acknowledges what they're saying. But they had him in his gold jacket, and his wife's like, the gold jacket looks good on you. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that. I'm like, okay. So I kind of softened. Because I was like, man, they shouldn't have showed him like that, man. Like he's there, he's on a machine and everything. And I'm like, he doesn't look good. I'm like, oh man, I don't like this. But then they had him in the gold jacket, and I'm like, oh well, they got him in the gold jacket. All right.
You know what I mean? Those are those tear-jerking moments, man. You don't want it to be because of the circumstances of which it happens, with his circumstance, but the overall picture of him getting honored the way he should, his boys from that legendary 85 Bears defense being there with him. I mean, hey, what more can you say about that? Andre Johnson got in, another guy from the U. Come on, man. The U was putting out people like it was nothing, man, like an assembly line. But Andre Johnson, another guy who deserved to be out there playing for the Texans. I wish he would have gotten a chance at a championship. He went for it, didn't get. I think he went to Indianapolis afterwards and didn't get it, But either way, this guy, excellent player, pretty much kept his mouth shut his entire career from Miami all the way to the Texans. Never was one of these people you had any issues with in the offseason. Never hold out and making issues. Maybe he did hold out, but a tribute to him if he did, and you never heard about it. He's that kind of dude. And so, yeah, another one get into the Hall of Fame as well. Yeah, man. It now officially starts the NFL season at least the aura of NFL season beginning. And so I mentioned it already. Jaden Daniels is going to get the nod to play on against the Jets in their preseason game. So we'll get to see one of the rookies, at least one of the more heralded rookies. I'm interested because of what we were thinking about him before he was drafted. We were talking about possibly being the number 1 overall, and he probably should have been a number 1 overall. But because he had what he had done at LSU and seeing, go his confidence. I don't think it's bad confidence either. It's not the cocky confidence. It's just that, you know what, you have the ability and you're going through this and you're seeing how you're picking up whatever you pick up in practice. You're hearing stories about how he's showing leadership and looking okay. He's not saying great yet, but that's what you expect from a rookie. And this is what we have. So I'm looking forward to seeing him, even against my team's 3rd, 4th string players. I don't mind that in the preseason.
Right. So going off of last year's college season, Daniels won the Heisman. He put up ridiculous numbers. He played in the SEC, probably still the best conference in America.
Yep.
And, even though they had their losses, he never
he wasn't the reason.
No, he wasn't the reason, but you never saw him put his head down. He didn't throw anybody under the bus.
Nope.
He didn't act like a diva. He wasn't crying on the sideline. And, that can't be said about my guy in Chicago, who wasn't in the toughest conference in Chicago.
And nail polish, all that other nonsense.
Well, whatever. I'm not gonna.
I'm not gonna stress that, but come on, man.
I'm just saying, if you want to wear nail polish, go for it. If it makes you feel better, go for it. Now I don't agree with this. I used to say it as a joke, but the Poison Clan. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
The Poison Clan, no.
No, they're a rap group from the early '90s, mid '90s. JT Money. Anyway, one of their songs, they said, "If smoking crack makes you feel good, do it." The point is, don't go smoke crack. The point is, if something makes you feel good, do it. So if you want to wear nail polish, you want to wear eyelashes, mascara, do it. There's a lot of rock bands out there who do that, and they play good music, damn good music.
It's more acceptable now than it used to be back then, I guess. So it's all in the public scale.
But when you get on that football field, just like that, those rock bands, they get on the stage and perform. Caleb Williams, you better get on that field and perform.
You know what? If he performs, at least, especially like CJ Stroud performed last season, no one's talking about nail polish. No one's talking about how he didn't play against certain teams the way he probably should have played, and him throwing tantrums whenever he did throw a tantrum. No one's talking about that anymore. You know what I mean? So, I'm looking forward to these rookies in the class going out and trying to play the way that their teams think they're going to play. That's why they took them so early, especially J.J. McCarthy. I still can't get over him going so early in the first round. I thought he was a 3rd rounder all the way. 3rd rounder, and that's probably pushing it. But we'll get a chance to see, man.
Speaking of Michigan, did you hear?
Oh yeah, about the costume on the sideline, the fake.
It looks like they're gonna give more penalties.
Well, you know what? Jim is gone, and that sucked because you're hearing all these stories about what happened when he was there and how now they have the coach Stallion was in a disguise on the sideline for the Michigan State and Central Michigan game. Bro, first of all, Central Michigan was just bad. Michigan State was just awful. Central Michigan in the MAC, not too much you really have to worry about between those two teams. I don't even know why it's even a story, especially after the way things ended with Michigan State last season with Mel Tucker, now who's suing the school. And now I think he's also claiming his civil rights were violated. I don't know about how that ends up being the case. Man, they got rid of you because you were a bad coach. Now, I think there may be something to it, as we talked about when it came out, how they probably, I don't know about setting him up, but they were looking for that one thing to get out of that damn contract they gave him, which was a $95 million contract. And they realized what the returns were after 3 seasons. Things aren't going to get much better with this guy, man. The recruits probably aren't going to come. And now Michigan playing the way they are, man, you're losing even more recruits. They have to find a way to get out of that long-time commitment with all that money. I can see something behind that, but civil rights, I don't know about that. It's still a bad look based on what he had done over the phone with this advocate for SA, for YouTube purposes, SA, as you probably know. So it's a bad look, but it's going to play out through the courts. And the Big Ten just had a bad year between Northwestern and then Michigan State and all this other nonsense going on. Just a mess.